Incoming.
Hey everyone, welcome back to From the Bunker. I'm your host Eli. We have a special guest with us here today, Command Sergeant Major Donald Mcalister, an airborne soldier from the sky. We'll have to find out how many inches shorter he is after all his years jumping out of airplanes. Happens to a lot of guys, I heard. So, Donald joined the Army, active duty, 1992. So he had to polish his boots, unlike some of us youngins here who joined in 04. I'm getting kind of old too, but so he retired in 2017 as Command Sergeant Major. He has a Purple Heart that he really earned that one. It wasn't a cute one. We got some Bronze Stars. We've got 2 Iraq, 3 Afghanistan deployments. Some real serious stuff. Donald's done some cool stuff since he's left the Army as well. And I met him at SHOT Show back in 2018, and so we've been loosely staying connected, and today's the day we find out the real story. So welcome, Donald, and thanks for coming on, man.
No, man, thanks for having me, dude. Anytime I get to hang with the guys is cool, you know?
Yeah, that's what we're all about here at Bunker Bros. So yeah, we're excited too. Tell us about, how you grew up, why you ended up joining the Army.
Grew up in Southeast Louisiana. Was a little heathen redneck, I guess, for lack of a better term. I guess how I would say it is like I was like, how old was I when Rambo came out? Came out like 13, something like that, man.
Uh-huh.
And fuck, hold on, man. I got an echo.
Yeah, you're good.
Is this me or you? No wonder. I got it. It's my fault. Now we should be golden. You still hear me great?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Sorry, man. I messed it up. But anyway, wanted to, be like Rambo, I thought. And then I saw The Longest Day with John Wayne and the 82nd Airborne, and I was like, those dudes are cool, and then didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go into military.
Okay.
Thought Airborne, but my my grandpa was in the Navy. Two of my uncles were Marines. I think one was Army. My dad was a little too young for Nam. He missed it by like a year. So, but my grandpa and my uncles, a couple of them were pissed because I was going in the Army. They're like, you don't want to go in the Navy? I'm like, the Navy nowadays is not what it was back in World War II, but no, man, I just I didn't know what I was getting into, but I knew I just had a calling for it for some reason. I was like most kids, I didn't know I was going to make a career. I used to tell guys, I'd have all my guys up for reenlistment. I'd be like, who here's getting out? And almost all their hands get up. I'd be like, guess what? I was getting out every time too. I'm still here. So, but nah, man, no, it's just something pulled me that way. And then what I think made me really want to stay in the Army for a while was going back home on leave after a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing all the dudes I grew up with doing the same shit, being the same guys, doing all that crap. And it's like, dude, I could still be doing the same shit,
Yeah.
And then, I'm walking around, I got my shit together, I got a new car, like it was for me as a kid. I had no clue what I was getting into, but it was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
All right.
Going into it, because I'm one of those meatheads that especially grunt life was just for me, because you can yell at me and beat me up all day long. That don't bother me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it wasn't because of anybody or anything. It was just, I just kind of had a calling for it, played Army because of Rambo and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went in the Army and really realized what it's like, the only way you're going to look like Rambo in the Army is if you don't work. Because I can tell you, my diet was never that good.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Like the more leadership you get, the less you forget to eat too.
Yeah.
But no, man, yeah, that was kind of it. And so I joined the Army. Well, first I talked to Marine Corps just to see, and then Army was a way better fit, which I knew already. And
Uh-huh.
I was actually on probation for hitting mailboxes, so I had to do the delayed entry program and wait till I graduated. But it was all good. Yeah, joined the Army in '92, went to Airborne school, and then got recruited to the old guard out of Airborne school.
Oh, that's an honor.
And from old guard, I reenlisted to go to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii, I reenlisted to go to 82nd, and the rest was history, pretty much.
Tell me more about the old guard. I'm always so curious about that.
Well, I mean, what do you want to know, man?
That's like an insane amount of discipline to look that sharp, be that locked in every time you're on, man.
Oh, it was terrible.
In any weather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, I didn't know what I was getting into, so the way I guess, and I don't really remember talking to the recruiter. You know how that is, how many years ago?
Yeah.
But the way I understood it was all the guys who would I guess max their PT tests and all that shit out of basic that didn't have certain contracts they were looking at.
Oh.
So I think they pulled like 8 or 10 of us out. And I think 4 or 5 of us they selected. Yeah, went there, had no clue what I was getting into. Didn't even know what the old guard was. The only reason I even signed up because this recruiter with all this stuff on his chest is telling me it's the most prestigious unit in the Army. You'll get a lot of FaceTime. You're a good looking dude, all this shit. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. But if he says it's cool, okay. And it's in DC, I didn't know. I'm glad I did it, man, because I truly think it made me a much better soldier for the rest of my career.
Dude, it had to. How could
it made everything else easy?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, was that the hardest thing you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had talked. There were talks of going back to the old guard as a CSM or sergeant major, shit like that. And you could put your name in for it, and the way the CSOs work and all. But like about that point, I was like, dude, if I had to stand at attention for 2 fucking hours, I would die probably.
I don't think people.
No.
If any civilians are listening, dude, just the amount of, I went to Marine Corps boot camp, but standing there for hours at position of attention or parade rest or whatever, how bad that hurts. And now that I'm old and had 2 surgeries on my left leg, probably need another one on the right, or just your shoulders, how it feels to stand at parade rest.
Yep.
Dude, it hurts. Oh my gosh. I that literally, I'm not surprised you said that's the hardest thing you did, because 100% in any weather, just being completely stoic. You're freezing, you're cold, you're wet, you're hot, whatever.
The discipline, man. Dudes that have never been there.
Yeah.
Even talking to them in the Army, they don't understand it, man. I'm like, fuck that, man. If I was out there for 3 hours, frostbite on my fingers, I'd have to move. Be like,
you're not gonna dishonor that grave, man.
Because if you do, you're out. Oh. It was like, when I was there in the early '90s, it was like a fraternity kind of.
Okay.
You got hazed, you got brought into the team.
Yeah.
But you truly felt like you were somewhere special. Like everybody there knew they were somewhere special.
Yeah.
We all did the infantry bitch about everything and all that shit. But at the end of the day, when it was go time, dudes were on their shit. And I think, and I got to say this while we're on it so I don't forget, the Army, if anybody's listening, just like with when they stopped shining fucking boots, you let the old guard go to anodized. That's some bullshit. They need to go back to shining their medals shining their fucking shoes, all that shit, because all those little things come into play whenever your career brings you higher.
It just breeds
So
discipline, man.
yeah, and I've told other people too. With there's uh like it's so different because like say you're a 20-year-old PFC,
Hmm.
right? But you've been trained, and I trust you. All right. Hey, tomorrow we got primary funeral week in Arlington. We got a one-man columbarium for a wife. You're doing it. You by yourself. You're going to do that funeral as a PFC.
Wow.
Because there's no flag to be presented. You're just carrying the urn from one point to another.
Hmm.
But still, as a PFC, to you, you're like, holy fuck, I don't got a sergeant here, but when you look back on it, you've went through the new man training and all that stuff, and your discipline is there. So by the time you do it, you're trained, and it's what you do, man.
Well, yeah, and
And
you probably prepped the night before and got up
oh
early
yeah,
in the morning, like, because you just don't want to dishonor someone.
no, man. Uh, I had my platoon sergeant back then told me best. He was like, remember this Matahuna? I don't even know what that means. He was a Guamanian dude, but he always called us that and Yardbird. But he was like, remember this. This funeral isn't for that soldier. It's for his fucking family. So if you fuck it up, that's the last thing his family's ever going to remember about his fucking service.
Damn.
And that was deep. So when I moved up there as a funeral team leader, but then in the Army, as an NCO running funeral details and being a first sergeant major, I was inspecting shit. And I told dudes that every fucking time. I'm like, this ain't like if I die, you ain't doing this shit for me. I don't know you're fucking doing it, but my wife and kids do.
Hmm.
So do you want their last memory of my fucking service to be that these dudes are all fucked up?
Yeah.
Because I've seen that happen.
Damn.
So yeah. Uh, in there, especially back then, everything was like there were no gray areas. It's black and white. This way, right? This way, wrong. No
Hmm.
fucking in between.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to understand shit like that. Have you ever seen the movie Gardens of Stone from the 80s? It's like made in like 88, 89, but it had James Caan, James Earl Jones, but it was about the old guard during Vietnam. It's a really good
Dude, I
movie.
gotta watch that. That's some
Yeah, and it
bomb
literally,
actors, too.
when I was there, in the early 90s, because they made it in the 90s, it literally was still, the only difference was we were wearing BDUs and we didn't have the clickers on our boots.
Okay.
Because back then they wore like jump boots with clickers.
Okay.
The only time we wore the clickers was with our core frame shoes.
I'm gonna have to watch that. Gardens of Stone?
Yeah, it's a great movie, man. Because it's ultimately about a kid who was a lieutenant in the old guard, or not a lieutenant, he was a soldier in the old guard.
Mm-hmm.
Really wanted to deploy because his dad did. Got commissioned, goes over, everything happens, but he was in the old guard and his buddies are there, and then it's all about
Okay.
the aftermath and all that shit. It's
Yeah.
a real good movie.
So super accurate. I gotta watch
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's super.
Yeah, like the old guard, man, I was like, holy fuck, they're still doing the same fucking shit. Same barracks, same everything.
Dang.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
that's
it was a crazy place, but
I
it was
didn't know
awesome.
you did that. Like, it's so cool that we got to talk about that because that's always really, really intrigued me. Because being in, I realized the discipline that, like, I'm not surprised you said that was the hardest thing you did because that's way just.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's a young man's game, dude.
yeah, no doubt, man. So,
But
yeah, so your dream was to go 82nd, and you finally get there about 10 years
yep,
into your career.
yep.
All
And
right.
that's because I was in the old guard, loved the army, but dudes that were in the 82nd, 25th, all these units were like, dude, you got to go somewhere else, man.
Mhm.
You'll fucking kill it. And I talked to my wife, and she was like, we could go to Hawaii because it was one of my options. I was like, yeah. She was like, well, let's do that. I was like, well, fuck it. So we did. We did Hawaii,
Did you get
and
island fever? Did you want to leave?
oh yeah, I wanted to leave, but
Like it's cool
we were
for a
there while
couple
September
months.
11th happened and all, and then
Ah,
that's where everything changed. And then I came back to the 82nd. I got here in August of 2, and then we deployed in October of was it 03 we were
March
no, I'm
of
sorry,
03 is the
October
invasion.
02 we were at NTC.
Uh-huh.
January 03 we were deployed.
Okay, and then you're
That's how
sitting there.
fast when I got there.
So then you're sitting in Kuwait, ready for the invasion, and do that, right?
No, we didn't. That's the other thing. My battalion never went to Kuwait. So
Oh,
that's the other thing. If we talked about so today, 22 years ago, we were in a undisclosed location in Saudi Arabia
oh,
with the 75th and JSOC. And our mission was we were all jumping into Baghdad International.
wow.
And the reason we got selected was because they were only going to be able to use, I think, 2 Ranger battalions or 1 Ranger battalion.
Mm-hmm.
They needed another infantry battalion because one had to take one part of the airfield and one had to take the other.
Okay.
So that's where we were at with all the cool guys and shit. Like we deployed in civilian clothes to the invasion. And, our wives, our families had no clue where we were at.
Wow.
My wife thought the whole time I was in Kuwait with the rest of the brigade. Had no clue that
Dang.
we were jumping in. Now
So it's company or battalion level that you're doing this?
I was battalion level.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was a weapons squad leader at the time.
Okay.
So, and, in charge of a machine gun squad. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, we were going to jump in, take the airfield, but the sandstorms happened and the thunder run, and by the time everything and it was, I think we were in hour, dude. We had chutes issued and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They scratched it, and literally, I don't even think it was an hour later. We got on the same aircraft we are going to jump out of. No door, no seats, no nothing, because we are going to sit on our asses, get up, because it was a combat jump, and we combat landed into Iraq, into a place called Talil, and there was nothing there. But I get off the back of this freaking up armored C-130, and my buddy Wilson's standing there. He's got his headlamp on. He's like, dude, what's up, man? I was like, where the fuck? He's like, dude, I've been here 3 days, man. I was like, what?
Where's the war?
He's like, yeah, they pre-positioned me, man, for brigade, because he had deployed with brigade, not the battalion.
Okay.
And that's where when they figured out that the junk got scratched, and First Armored Division, well, no, I'm sorry, Third ID bypassed all the big cities from the south,
Uh-huh.
and all the bad guys from those cities were just going to come up and just waste them,
Uh-huh.
cut off all supply lines. So then they were like, okay, we got a brigade from the 82nd, we got a brigade from the 101st. So you had the 82nd going up on one side from Osamawa, Diwania, Ramadi, Fallujah, Baghdad, and then you had 101st on the other side going up. And that was what that's what I tell guys. I'm like, that was the kind of combat that you see in movies.
Yeah.
Where when it happens, it looks cool as shit. 90% of the time, you're just walking your ass off, fucking moving places and moving shit and not having any food and sucking,
Dude,
But
one of my favorite, for sure, like movies / miniseries is Generation Kill. Because it's
freaking broody.
Dude, it's 100% exactly, because I read the book after, and the book is almost verbatim to the show. There's like a few more lines in some of the chapters, but it's almost verbatim. And it's exactly how the Marine Corps really was at that time. Because I was in soon after, and it's like, dude, it's so good. It's so good. So I'd imagine it's similar for you.
Yeah, dude, it's the same shit, And then as you man, as you gain rank, and then you have these deployments under your belt and all, guys ask you question after question after question, like, man, I hear the stories from UOF1 and all. I couldn't imagine what that was like. And then, like for example, my 2009-10 deployment that the books are about, we could talk about. But that deployment, man, like freaking, I had, not even say, so we had 2009-10, man. We had like this piece of ground given to us that was like, I don't even know. You know what? Like, come back to Afghanistan 09-10,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll talk about it so it'll
Okay.
make sense because I don't want to like half-ass it.
Yeah.
Because it was a time where I tell guys, and I'm sorry it seemed like, but I was trying to say it the right way. But it was a time where I tell guys that, and if you read these books, these kids had a fight like nobody could ever fucking imagine,
Mm-hmm.
and they hardly fired a shot. It was all dismounted IEDs,
Oh.
freaking booby traps, and the mission was taking ground and owning it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how many bad guys you kill,
Yeah.
none of that shit. So when your buddies are losing limbs left and right and shit like that, and you're not getting any downrange feedback or BDA
Yeah. No
on the bad guy, you're like, what
retribution
the
or.
fuck? So that's the kind of shit that when you hear all these cool guy war stories with the, I'm gonna say I got 100 grenades or whatever, blah blah blah, or I was doing it. It's like, dude, no man. Talk to these kids who lived down in the shit, had to patrol 2-3 times a day,
Waiting to get
no
blown up.
vehicles, on foot, fucking waiting to get blown the fuck up because it looked like fucking Vietnam. And your job as that kid is to find anything out of the ordinary, sweep these areas, clear them all, and keep the bad guys out so they can't get weapons from here to there. But as a private, when you're taught that your job is to close with and destroy the fucking enemy, and you're the best at it, and they're kicking your ass without firing a shot, that's where I tell these guys now, especially the ones that are still in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's why guys look to you now because of what you went through then.
Yeah.
Because you went through something that I'm telling you, 90% of the guys that deployed in this war did not go through something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they didn't get shot at. Everybody's had their fire, but I'm saying like you get the war stories about, when your deployment's coming up. This is the one, man. This is the one. That was the fucking one.
Yeah.
Because there's that one, and that was the one. That was the one where I was fucking tired, man. As a first sergeant. So, yeah. So anyway, we can whatever you want to go on. I kind of went on a tangent, but sorry
No,
about
that's
that. Dude.
fine. So yeah, just finish up with the invasion of Iraq, because that's always like just a huge monumentous moment in history, man.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
it was
not
crazy,
really
man.
monumentous in person. I don't know. It depends on experience.
Well, it's cool to say you were there. Sucked while we were doing it,
Uh-huh.
But
So
yeah,
what
man.
happens when you land at this airstrip?
What's that?
What happens when you land in? Was
Oh
it
yeah,
Khalil?
so we landed in Toledo. Oh, dark 30, dark out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Wilson walks us in. There's like a blown out old barracks. It's basically like an old Iraqi army place or something.
Okay.
And they already got it secured because we're ready to come out shooting and shit. We're going into Iraq.
Where's the war?
And then we go in there. They let us get a little rack. Next morning, we get the new mission brief, and it's to go attack the city of Asamoah because 4,000 Fedayeen have blocked it off, and we're trying to hold the bridges to stop supplies from getting up to Baghdad.
Okay.
So we fought the Battle of Asamoah, the Battle of the Bridges is what they call it now. So now there's deets printing about it, all kind of shit. We all argue about it, but me and my buddy are in the print. My buddy Cavazos.
So what actually happened with that? Was it like it legit semi-conventional?
Oh, it was all conventional.
Okay.
This was army on army. This is what we were trained to fucking do.
Yeah, the dream, dude.
And we can shoot, they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, they could pull the trigger, but they don't.
Yeah.
They weren't great marksmen. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
But no, man, it was going in Iraq, I was a staff sergeant, weapons squad leader. When we went into Asamawa, my job, me and my AG, his name was Fulse, a little bit short guy.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first two to cross across Highway 5 or whichever the highway was by the bridges, because I had to set up a gun by Bridge 1
Mm-hmm.
so we could lock it down on the other side.
Yeah.
And we're all walking through. Well, let me backtrack. We're getting the mission brief the day before, and they're like, yeah, we're going to gack from here to here on the back of trucks, and then we're going to attack at 06. And we were like,
why aren't we taking it in the dark?
Yeah, I remember I looked at the CO, who's I still talk to this day. I was like, sir, we were all like, on the fucking night? Like, what the fuck are we doing? He's like, yeah, they don't fight in the dark. Like, what the fuck? So, yeah, man, we get our shit together. We're in a patrol base. It's like an old dump or something we got there. It's like oh dark 30 at night. And, we take off like infantrymen do on foot. Had a shitload of rounds. I had 4,000 rounds for my gun. I think I had, personally myself, I had 3 law rockets on my ruck, which I fired within like first 10 minutes. And then, my first magazine was all tracer because I was a weapons squad leader, pointing targets and shit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, we go to set up. I don't remember a lot of shit, man, because my brain is so fucked now, but there's shit that does stand in my head. I forget. We get over there and I'm like, False, you have to get the fucking tripod set up shit. I was like, what the fuck's that noise? He's like, they're fucking shooting at us, Sart. Like all the, the road, the shit was hitting and everything. Yeah. But luckily we were behind concrete blocks and shit. But yeah, I was like, holy fuck. Because it don't sound like it does. If you've ever truly been shot at, like in a real firefight, it don't sound like the night infiltration course at Fort Benning.
Yeah.
That snap, crackle, and pop is real. That's why we used to make jokes when you see the old timers, during deployment, and you hear shooting in the background. The other one's not getting down. They're like, they ain't fucking shooting at us, dick.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. You get a legit straight up army on army engagement.
Oh yeah.
Take care of
4,000 Fedayeen waiting on us, and we took both bridges.
Nice.
And I think our brigade, I don't know the numbers of casualties, but we didn't have a single guy killed. We're brigade minus, actually. We're missing 1 battalion. And, we had a couple guys wounded. One of our scouts, I think in first bat, got shot by, they said a sniper, probably AK. Shot, went right here, went in, chipped his tooth, and he spit out the bullet. Jacked his cheek all up. But, yeah.
Dude, it's crazy how that's, we had a guy on a deployment who got shrapnel through his neck and missed everything.
I've seen stuff like that, man.
And then another guy that I was in the Marines with in Iraq, he got shot, I think also in the neck, and missed everything too. So lucky, man. Holy crap. Yeah. Especially with the AK round, or is 7.62 Vinny like so big and tumbling and stuff. Wow.
Dude, I had a buddy that when we were in Mosul the second time, moving across this open field, bounding, got shot. Well, it went through his pants, split his nutsack wide open.
Just the skin?
He was fine other than that. They had to sew him up. He was RTD. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, dude, fuck. But, I look back on all this stuff, man. Like I tell people now, like, a lot of guys that I guess knew me in the Army that didn't serve with me wherever, or whatever, they haven't found out until after I retired, all the shit I had been through. And it blows their fucking mind. They're like, well, why didn't you ever talk about any of that stuff and all? I was like, because if I'm spending time telling you how much of a badass I am and all the shit I've done, then when am I training you?
Mhm.
You know, like at the end of the day,
It's not about you.
and this is what I would tell guys. I told all my NCOs, I was like, you know what got fucked up got me? It taught me that I truly thought I was disciplined, and I thought that I had my head on a swivel,
Mhm.
and it truly taught me that I really didn't understand discipline. I thought I did because if you're fucking disciplined, you'll never be complacent.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I don't know where the dude came from that the trigger man was or none of that shit, and that ate at my soul, man. But yeah, I told you, it just I think for the guys like your buddies that get shot and doesn't, or the ones that go back to duty, like my buddy, he got his right eye shot out by a sniper. He's got a fake eye. But like we talked about, the shit that we went through made us such better leaders because we truly understood that tiny fucking little minute bullshit detail
Yeah.
is life and death.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd have to say, so I was training up for my second deployment, and I was with the Army Guard, and myself and my platoon sergeant were the only ones who had been deployed before. And I was in a PSD, so you know how that goes. They send guys from all over the place. Like there were 6 infantry dudes, and then they sent some pretty awesome engineers. They're really good friends of mine. Like heavy equipment and like 1 or 2 combat engineers, and then you're getting like supply people. We literally had a water purification guy, and we're building this team. But I was like, hey, I asked my platoon sergeant. It's more like a section leader at the time. Hey, can I take these guys and train them on like dismount operations and just basic, simple ambush stuff, L-shaped ambush or whatever? Because literally, they had 2 mounted live fires planned for PSD and no other training other than like how to drive MAT-Vs, Blue Force Tracker, radios, but like no tactical training at all. It was all just white space for us.
see that's
And
that right there too. I've seen it so many times. That's when if it's the sergeant major who's you're going to be his PSD or that commander, they didn't get involved.
No, they did
they would
not
be
at all.
pissed.
So like I was like, this ain't gonna work. Like, no.
Yeah.
And one thing active duty Marine Corps is like you train for the worst possible case scenario. You never win in training, but you're so good, dude. Like I knew if anyone messed with us, like we were gonna shoot. Like,
Well, that's it, man.
but I took these guys and I started training them, and like I made this guy cry because I was like, and everyone was like, why are we doing this? Like we're not gonna do this stuff. What happens? We get to Afghanistan. They plus us up some more people, and then we had 2 whole squads, and you would do PSD 1 week, and QRF, and the next week you would do foot patrols and time off. And I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yep.
I told you. But yeah, like you have to train for worst case scenario because it's about getting guys home whether they get pissed at you or not, and they realize it later.
The thing about it too, man, is like me and my daughter, she's almost 27, but we play Call of Duty together and shit still, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be having a bad day on the game, or she will. And I remember I explained it to her a long time ago. I'm like, when you don't think about it, you win, don't you? She's like, every time. I'm like, because you know what to do. Your body knows what to do. Your mind knows what to do. Once you overthink it, then you take that second pause or whatever, and then it's over. And I told her that's the same thing with guys in the military. Same exact thing, man.
Dude, that's a good point. Like the time to overthink it is in training and learn, and then then when you actually get in the scenario and you get that.
Too, like if you have any kids that are in the military, listen to this or whatever. Yeah, I even had a couple officers over the years who were like, "Sir, that's hardcore. Why do you say it like that?" You know how, and I'm sure some dudes will be like, "Oh, But we always tell, well, every soldier needs to know the mission, right? Okay. Why does a PV2 need to know the battalion's mission?
Everyone needs to know the why, but he needs to know the why of why he needs to listen to what you tell him to do.
Would
You know?
the best way to say it, because you're saying it like that. But I think the best way to put it, because I've had dudes telling me it resonated with them, is it's like your well, freaking. Oh, my TBI is kicking in. Hold on. But the thing with that, man, is the dude. Fuck, man, I'm drawing a blank. What were we
We're
saying?
talking about the why and what a private needs to know.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm sorry, man. Like I told you, my brain is jacked.
They're fine.
But yeah, like I used to tell kids, here's what you need to know. All right, what weapon system are you carrying? Well, I'm carrying an M4. I'm a rifleman. What does a rifleman do? What's he responsible for? What equipment is he responsible for? What's his job when it comes to battle drill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Mm-hmm.
That's your mission.
Yeah.
That's what you need to fucking know. Because you're going to be told, go here. When I tell you go there, I'm not telling you how to do your job when you get there.
Yep.
That's on you. And that's why it is my job to make sure when you get there, you react and do your fucking job and don't overthink it.
Yeah.
I
love it, man.
And that's a hard thing for people to kind of comprehend.
Yeah. I like that.
But yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, man.
So you get through the invade. Well, you didn't get through it. So
I could tell you a couple funny things about that. So
yeah.
So we're in Cool Guy Land before we deployed. And we got all these classes, all the squad leaders and shit, on how to hotwire vehicles and all this shit.
Oh wow.
Because we went there to jump into Iraq, so we didn't have vehicles and shit.
Okay, so you're gonna acquire all this shit.
Yeah, like I mean, we had our support element with LMTVs to carry us, but we didn't have like vehicles to get commanders around us, other than a couple of light skins.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, we're in fucking. I think D1 Neos when we first did it, but like one day, CO's like, Mac, I need a vehicle. All right, sir, go set up a snap CCP. Get me. He wanted an SUV or whatever, and I'm like, okay, well, what are the parameters? And then he explained it. He's like, all right, if they have tinted windows or if they have a weapon, we're authorized to confiscate their vehicle and their weapon. And he was like, we need vehicles. So we went and got vehicles. And
heck yeah, dude.
I cruised around Baghdad in a Hilux truck, no doors. We took them off.
Yeah.
We kicked the windshield out. We put 100-mile-an-hour tape on the front on the headlights, so we made it blackout drive.
Yeah.
And one of the guys back then, because like 03, had like a Maxim magazine sticker. He got it like one of the, I don't know where he got it, but it was the Vice City sticker, whatever, out of Maxim. Yeah. So that was on the side of the truck. So
dude, you have a picture of that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got pictures.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got we had like a flatbed bongo truck. That was how we got the platoon around. We had a big, for lack of a better term, bus with curtains in it. That was our night raid vehicle.
Nice.
Think about it. You pull up in the front. They don't know you're coming.
Yeah.
It's an Iraqi vehicle. But later on through the war, when more people started getting into Baghdad and all, then it's you couldn't be driving around with civilian vehicles and shit because you wind up getting shot up. So it's like, after a while it had to stop. Like we used them locally, but not. After a while it stopped for patrols and shit like that.
What an interesting time.
That's when we started getting hit with IEDs.
Yeah. What an interesting time, dude. Yeah. That's my uncle, my great uncle, hit Utah Beach, not Omaha Beach, but the one next to it. did the invasion in France, and he told us his biggest regret that he felt bad for was they stole this French farmer's motorcycle out of his barn, him and his buddy, so they wouldn't have to walk. So they would siphon gas out of the army trucks and fill up their motorcycle.
Dude, the shit you like. So, the guy I was telling you about before, that missing his eye.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him together, we're in Ramadi in the invasion. We got dudes at a blown out building we were staying at, one of the palaces, and then we had a squad. It was a women's hospital.
Okay.
And we sent there because we were told that the Fedayeen that were hiding out were going to come take it over, right? So we had a squad there, and then we were there, and then me and Cavazos, he was a platoon sergeant. Well, no, he wasn't a platoon sergeant yet. We were still squad leaders. We both were like, well, fuck it, let's go check on the guys. So we had a little Galloper SUV that we took off a bad guy, drove it out there, just me and him, about 2 miles away from where we're at. On the guys, everything's good. We're driving back. About a mile into the drive, it broke down on us. The only comms we had were ICOMs back then. So obviously we weren't talking to base. So anyway, I'm driving. We're stopped. I'm trying to get it started. And then this dude comes outside of his house, and this is like 3:00 in the morning. And he's like, speaking there. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. And my buddy's like, maybe you're saying you can help, dude. And then we start talking to him, and we didn't have a Terp with us. Yeah. He was like, the dude was like, no, I speak little English. I am mechanic. Hood like that. I was like, should we trust this dude? This during the invasion. Cavazos, we're like, what else can we do? So we popped the hood. He told us, he said it. I don't know what it was, but he said if one of us knew how to pop the clutch, we could start it. So basically, it wound up being I think it was a solenoid or something because it was an older SUV.
Okay.
But so long story short, this is the shit that you hear in war stories that are real war stories, not all the other Hollywood shit.
Yeah.
You got two 82nd Airborne staff sergeants who think they're fucking badasses.
Driving around the city on their own.
Alone and afraid. At this point, I would say afraid because we were shitting bricks.
Yeah, dude.
We were good till we broke down. And we had this dude trying to help us. And then he got like almost all the dudes out of the neighborhood at like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I shit you not. I'm sitting here. We got like 8 Iraqi dudes pushing the truck while I'm fucking. Me and Cavazos in there. Finally, cranks up and I just take off. And we're hauling ass. We're all excited. But we forgot because when we got close enough with the ICOM to call up the fucking TCP.
Oh, no.
My buddy Horn was there, man. He almost lit us up. You dumbasses. We were like, but yeah, that's the kind of shit.
Dude, I got a similar story.
Expect.
I got a similar story. So, I got to Fallujah in 2005. So, the big battle's November 2004. And I mean, the place is blown to crap. We're letting everyone back in the city, and it's like, so you have all these stories. I'm getting there. I'm 18, dude. And back then it was when I first got there, it was a minimum. You could do a 2-vehicle convoy. It turned into 3 later because 2 is just that's dumb. So I'm following one of my seniors, Lance Corporal Sensabaugh. He's driving the lead Vic, and he had done left seat, right seat, so he knew his way around. And I'm following him, and it gets all dusty, and I'm in Fallujah, dude, in the city. And I lose him around the corner, and my squad leader's my vehicle commander. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and we're like, oh, shit. We're going to die. And so I'm just trying to find the end of his dust trail. And somehow, I just made the right turns and followed him, and we made it. But I mean, dude, we were like, this is it. This is it, man. It's like 3 or 4 of us in this high-back Humvee with bolted on up. Or no, I didn't even have up rubber yet. Yeah, dude.
No, not back then.
So that was pretty wild.
It's so.
All right, so we're Mac. we're telling funny stories, getting lost in cities in Iraq, actually being legit scared.
Yeah,
So this first deployment, a lot happened for you. You ended up getting a Purple Heart and getting hurt really, really, really bad. You want to tell us
yeah,
about what it's like dealing with that, overcoming it, and coming back?
yeah. Well, I used to not talk about it a lot, but basically, I got hit in October '03. I had just got my platoon in, was it July? I think is when I moved over there,
Okay.
or August. I had just became a platoon sergeant. So while we were deployed, I moved from weapon squad leader. They moved me over to Alpha Company to be a platoon sergeant.
Okay.
And one of our first missions, one of my guys, we had a big clearance operation. We killed like a big high value target. And, if you've heard stories about, well, even in '05, your sector, especially back in those days, the bad guys knew you.
Yeah.
They knew who they were looking for. They knew who they were, because like each platoon had their own, mapped off sector of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, you know, when I moved over there, did a lot of good shit. And then one day, me and one of the squad leaders, Conklin, love him to death. He's in a lot of pictures with me. But he had got a Hodge PlayStation with the chip in it.
Oh yeah.
So we had NCAA 2004
Great game.
on a PlayStation. And we were living in this little room outside of one of these palaces. But we could wind down and actually play PlayStation and shit, which is cool as shit, even though it had like Haji writing on the shit. But anyway, uh, we had a bunch of big clearance operations, all this shit, and then we we didn't have downtime, but we didn't have any big clearances or anything. We just had regular ops, and I was sitting there, got a new PL, and me and Conklin had just started a dynasty on NCAA. I was LSU, in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and PL comes in there. He's like, "Hey, Sergeant, I'm going to check on the dudes at the Al Rashid Bank. You want to ride with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I better go with you, sir," because he's a new PL,
Mm-hmm.
and we had two Humvees at that time. Like I said, we didn't use the, but they were just light skinned, no doors, no tops. We didn't even have sheet metal or sandbags or none of that shit back then, because I think I was the second IED to hit the 82nd, F1.
Okay.
But anyway, told the PL, "Yeah, I'll go, sir." So we took two vehicles. We drive to the Al Rashid Bank, and I'm sure some of it I'll fuck up, so I'll try not to say all the details, because guys that were there remember a lot more than I do. Guys were I had guys guarding this bank because it was bad guys saying we're going to come rob it and all this shit. And we went to check on them. Everything was good. And we're coming back. It was October, but it was hot as shit. The only shade in that truck, because it was like a command Humvee, basically. So it was just the front.
Yeah.
Well, not a command Humvee, but, just a two-seater up front.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Bergner, one of my team leaders, he was riding in the back of the truck. I was like, "Hey, man," because he was outside the whole time we were in the bank pulling security and shit. I was like, "Dude, jump up front so you got some shade. I'll jump in the back and pull security for you." He's like, "You sure, Sergeant?" I was like, "Yeah." So, I was on the driver's side. We're driving out of Aldora Market in Baghdad. All kind of people. Power substation, right past it. All I remember is big, huge concussion. Like, I couldn't hear nothing. It almost sounded like, I've been in a lot of fights and all. So when you get that lightning crack and that tunnel vision where you're like, "Whoa,"
Yeah. Like,
it felt like that.
yeah.
And it was like slow motion. Like, I can still remember it vividly, this part. So I felt this blast and I heard this shit. And then I felt warm, and I kept my weapon on a D ring, So when I had to just drop it, I just dropped it. You know? Anyway, I was like, what the fuck? And I remember feeling for my weapon, remember it was still there, and then doing this. And I think it was this eye, I could see it, but like it was just blood everywhere. But apparently that all happened within like a split second because it threw me, I don't know how many feet, but the guys say 30 feet. I doubt it was that far. Because basically, we were coming out of the market. The IED hits on my side. It's underneath the asphalt. It's 5155 pounds
Wow.
with a RC, I think. And luckily for us, they were early, it was the early days of IEDs, so they buried them under the asphalt, which I think took a lot of the blast. Because that light skin with 5155s would have just ripped it apart. And now it had holes in it, but it was still, I mean, it got flipped and shit. But anyway, I was on that side. All the shit hit me. I was unconscious for a while, on the ground. One of my guys was at Friesenberg, was up on the saw and air guard. We had a SOP back then because, traveling through the city and hauling ass and shit, we had dudes fall out of vehicles. So we made, especially gunners up top, because we didn't have fucking
You're sitting a high back.
Kindles or any of that shit, So it's like, dude, we just lock in dudes with a 1/2-inch quarter webbing with a D-ring.
Mm-hmm.
So he was locked in with the D-ring. When the vehicle flipped like 5 or 6 times, he rode with it. Didn't get a scratch.
Wow.
I mean, busted his eardrums and stuff, but didn't get a scratch. I mean, and he got bad concussion, but as far as like physical, and then Reed, the guy who was driving, he got fucked up really bad. And then my Turk Fred, who was right beside me, I took a big piece of shrapnel to my chest plate, but my chest plate stopped it.
Okay.
He took a piece of shrapnel, went all the way through him, took him out instantly. My old Turk Fred. Yeah, man. So I got all that. I'm down on the ground, and all I remember about that dude is when I come to, I'm looking up, and I can barely see. I can't see out of this eye. Bergner's like, "You're gonna make it, Sergeant. You're gonna make it, Sergeant." And I didn't. These guys will tell you I still talk to Bergner. I was one of those, I guess, combative dudes when you're wounded, because all I wanted to know if the dudes were okay and all that shit.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying that because I was like, oh, no, as a young leader, your brain just does weird shit when you're fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen dudes do it, and yeah, man. I mean, they were like, "Dude's good. We're getting him out of here. You're gonna make it." Blah blah blah, whatever. And my buddy Johnson, who's a command sergeant major, retired now. He was the one that came in QRF to get me out of there, and they got me to I think it was the 407 back then, at like the Scania factory, and then they flew me on Blackhawks from there to the cache, and then from the cache to Germany. But I'll never forget, I woke up out of emergency surgery at the cache, and my sergeant major, who was my number one mentor of all time, probably the most badass dude I've ever known, is looking at me with tears in his eyes. He's like, "Mac, we're gonna get those motherfuckers, and you're gonna be all right." But I didn't know how bad I looked. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a dude like when they first get hit, like how bad their face looks, and just because everything hit me here.
Yeah.
So, my eyelid was ripped all the way back. I still have a piece of shrapnel in my eyeball. I got shrapnel in my eye sockets.
Wow.
Had a big hole in my head here where a piece of shrapnel bounced off, went up into my helmet. I still got the helmet somewhere. Freaking, shrapnel everywhere. A piece this big went up inside my groin all the way up through my hip. And I don't know if the doctors say so. I have a big hole in my left leg. Like you can put your pinky in it.
Okay.
And I still have the piece. It looks like lead. Like doctors tell me they think it was a ricochet from an AK, but regardless, it was shrapnel.
Mm-hmm.
But they did do a small arms ambush, but I didn't even know that shit was going on by that point.
Yeah.
But anyway, the guys on the second vehicle, they laid Scunion and they freaking did first aid and all that shit and got us back. And then I came home. Well, Walter Reed, and dude, they were telling me. Well, first off, Walter Reed in 2003. You seen the horror stories back in the day, right? Yeah. There
Yeah.
was no system, no nothing.
Yeah.
They get me there, and this fucking staff sergeant walks into my room, like never done shit. Like coming in and like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be your platoon sergeant while you're here. I was like, the fuck you are, dick. Like, who the fuck are you? He's like, I'm running med platoon, blah blah blah. I was like, who's the fucking commander? I was all drugged up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was a female, and I talked to her, and I was like, I respect you, man. I was like, but I'm a fucking platoon sergeant. I ain't gonna fucking answer some little bitch like that. Because they hadn't got many dudes like me at that point.
Yeah, this is all new.
Yeah, and fucking but general surgeons told me I'd never look the same again. All this shit was separated, disarmed. I wouldn't be able to jump out of planes, wouldn't be able to do push-ups. My right hip still comes out of socket now.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm all jacked up, dude. Like
Yeah.
back then, like when I got hit, I told guys this, man. I was a skinny kid, but I was a fucking stud. And I'm not just, I mean, like I was a stud.
Yeah.
Like physical stud. And I got hit really bad, but fortunately, just like you said with your buddies, man, is every one of my injuries was serious, but not nothing that was going to kill me.
Uh-huh.
And I had this thing in me, man. Like, when they were telling me, yeah, you're probably gonna get bed boarded and all this shit, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna fucking walk and I'm gonna do my PT test. So anyway, long story short, less than 8 months later, maxing my PT test again, foot mile, 12-mile foot march, jumping out of planes,
Dang.
all that shit. Wasn't supposed to. Deployed again the second time. My mentor, Flowers, the guy I was telling you about, was still my battalion sergeant major, and was the one that told me, "No, you're gonna stay back here." No, sergeant major, I'm deploying.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Mac, you gotta recover." I was like, "I'm good, sergeant." But he let me deploy, and it was probably, man. I look back on that now, and my buddy Doyle, we still talk, and I was his boss. So we're same age and all that shit. And,
Yeah.
I could crush his soul in front of dudes, but it was just me and him. We were brothers.
Uh-huh.
And I told him straight up, I was like, dude, I'm scared, man. I never said it in front of my wife, my kids, and all that shit.
Yeah.
My other buddies. And I said this to him when we're getting ready to go to Iraq second time because it came up as a QRF. And I was like, dude, I'm scared, man. He's like, why? I said, well, what if I don't do my fucking job, man? What if I freeze up because of an explosion or something? He's like, dude, we just did all the training and shit. You're fucking golden, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we deployed. We did 2 weeks in Baghdad to clear out Highway 8, the Highway of Death, or the Green Zone, whatever the fuck it was, Route Irish. I think my platoon, we found a V-bid and some shit. I was platoon sergeant time. And then we moved up to Mosul. Our first day out in the sector, we set up Cop Gator, and my platoon was in a good firefight. And it was all over. I did my job, did everything. It was all over. We're humping back. And the shoulders on my hand on my shoulder. And this Doyle, he's like, hey, boss, told you, motherfucker. And he just walked off. I was like, yeah, all right. But you don't know, man. You don't know how you're going to react.
Yeah.
And that's like, I got he's probably the closest thing to a real brother I have in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he got wounded really bad. and then deployed again. And I think he deployed one more, maybe not. But then he got out, and it fucked with him so much because he thinks he got out because he was scared getting hit again.
Hmm.
I'm like, dude, you went back, man.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, guys, the way all this stuff does is people rationalize stuff so. I guess we're so self-loathing. It's always
Yeah.
it's me that makes shit hard.
Yeah.
It's me that makes shit
We
difficult.
lie. It's like a lie.
Yeah,
It's a total lie.
yeah, yeah. You know, but yeah, man, I fought through my injuries, stayed in. Did my time.
Then you went to Afghanistan twice,
Oh yeah,
3 times.
3 times. Yeah,
So
yeah.
wasn't it weird the difference between Iraq and Afghanistan?
Oh yeah,
Like it, Iraq's like I feel like Iraq just sucks because it's like more modern, and the
yeah.
people
See,
like I think were just not as nice. I don't know. Afghanistan was so different, North versus South, because I did both.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, like, yeah, RC South. I've been there.
yeah, like
And,
Helmand Province, like you go around, everyone's flipping you off and all this stuff.
yep.
When you're up north, most kids wave at you. You don't get that much rocks thrown at you. You go down south and just, dude, we
Oh yeah,
hate you.
dude. We're down. We're in Helmand in Lashkar Gah from
I've been there.
September of 09 to November of 09.
Okay.
Not September, August. We were there for like 2-3 months with the Brits and the Marines.
Yeah, and then the Marines were doing the Marja push, right?
Yeah, well, I had some guys. So you had the Marja push going on. We did a big push out there for that. Not specifically the Marja clearance, but another adjacent operation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a platoon that we had with I forget, it was a company with it 3-6 Marines. So we had a platoon that we augmented to a company of Marines down in Helmand in Nawa at the same time when it was all going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been all over that place too.
Yeah.
Like that's what you don't. That's what sucks when you become like a senior leader. If you're doing what you're supposed to do and you're checking on your boys and all that shit,
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly traveling the fucking roads and shit and the fucking
Oh,
like.
I would rather. Now you were talking about was your 910 deployment, how bad it was.
Yeah.
Like with the ground, like the foot patrol IEDs. I hated driving. I absolutely hated it because you're just like, all right, so we'll drive around, see if we get blown up. Like,
Yeah, you're just waiting to see who gets hit.
yeah, and it's I always felt better on foot. Maybe I didn't experience what you did on foot in Afghanistan, but I don't know if you still felt that way. But I always was like, I'd rather be on foot any day.
Well, even out in that fight, if you read about Afghanistan at that time and in Kandahar, yeah, man. I mean, like, if anybody used a vehicle out there where we were at,
Mm-hmm.
like before we were there, the unit before us had a striker got hit,
Mm-hmm.
9 dudes instantly gone. That's how big the IEDs were and shit. And there was only one lock in and out, one little trail.
Also,
So if you're taking that one thing
you're done.
and it's not clear, you're fucked.
Yeah.
The only way to clear all of that valley with all that greenage and all that shit is on foot.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to go through canals, you got to go through orchards, you got to fucking like, yeah, it's you know, I tell the guys from BCO 2508 from that deployment that they can tell anybody and anybody could say whatever, but I know a lot of fucking infantrymen, and I don't know very many infantrymen who did a real infantry fight.
Yeah, dude,
That
you're
makes sense to
just
you.
ground pounding the whole time. Like it was so,
Yeah.
dude. I moved to Michigan in the end of 2021, and dude, I hadn't been light infantry since I was in the Marines. And like every time I deployed, I did foot patrols. My first deployment in the Marines, we did foot and vehicle and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Next one, we did foot patrols, but it was around Bagram, dude. There wasn't really much going on. And then my third one, it was the first time I didn't do a foot patrol ever. Like I was so much vehicle stuff, man. And then I was
Yeah.
in either a Bradley, combined arms battalion, and then we switched to strikers, and then I get to Michigan and I'm like, all right, we're going through the woods. And I'm like, oh boy, dude, I haven't done this in a long time.
You mean I'm carrying a ruck and we're living out of it out here?
Yeah, dude.
That's what I tell you. Like, people don't like. Even these kids nowadays, man. Like, I hope if there are leaders in the army right now that are listening, like young guys, if your boys have never had to fucking do a just 72-hour just straight up suck fest, straight up patrol base after patrol base, doing infantry shit all night, every night for the time, smoking the shit out of them, showing them how you're gonna have to live.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that for these kids now, you're failing.
Yeah, dude, just trying to stay awake while being
Yeah.
exhausted, dig a hole. Like, oh my gosh. And exhausting, like, especially like growing up in Southern California and then getting stationed there and like living there most of my life and then having to like the skill and the exhaustion of walking through the woods at night with MVGs and like thick
Yeah.
woods. That's like a skill, bro.
No, yeah, it's a perishable skill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Land
that's the other thing.
management.
Like, we used to tell guys this too. Hey, if you ain't walking your boys out in the woods at night, you're fucking failing them. Like I tell dudes, I'm like, Area J is right across the road. Draw nods. You can keep them at the fucking stab duty.
Yeah.
Till tomorrow morning. You got training area all right here.
Yeah.
Like, I think it'll get back to that, man. Because like
we are, dude. I'll tell you right now, like I'm at the end of my career, but like we're for sure training super conventional now, and
as it should be.
yeah, and we need those skills again, and they're definitely that's the focus. And then also, having just been in Syria recently, and then watching what's happening in Ukraine, and like, dude, drones is wild. You want to talk about like, I mean, that's fear, bro. Like,
yeah, no, I'm saying that's some scary shit.
You're just like,
yeah, I mean, you can shoot, move, communicate all day long, but as soon as it comes up there and it fucking takes you out from fucking,
yeah, I feel like if you try to ambush me on a well-trained squad, infantry squad, like you're lucky if you get me because we're probably gonna destroy you. But if you like, just drones, IEDs, like just random chance stuff, that's where the fear's at.
When I'm, and people like, well, cowards using IEDs and all. Well, we could say that, but it's just like an evil killer out there, or any kind of bad guy. They're looking for the easy win.
Well, they don't have a conventional army.
No,
they can't fight us force on force. That's the only way they have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So the IEDs and all that shit.
Now,
but like what I used to tell guys, like me and my old CO, actually, and now he's about to. I don't even know if I can say it yet, but he was. I think he was a 275 battalion commander. Yeah, we used to talk about all that. How the army, even then, we could see how it was trying to cater to a deployed army, a rotational based army, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, you're giving these infantry units these missions, but this is not an infantry mission.
Yeah, close with and destroy the enemy. We're really just being a security sustainment force, more like a military police type thing or something.
Like, here's one for you. You'll think this is funny.
Yeah.
And my sergeant major at the time, commanders. Everybody will corroborate. I'm not making this up. We're at JRTC before my last deployment. Like I said, I was an operations sergeant major, and this was an advising mission. So they told me I was going to be an advisor. And I looked at the commander and I said, "That's a bad idea, sir." He said, "Why? You know your shit. You know this. You know that. Blah blah blah." I was like, "Yeah, but I am not their fucking friend, and I ain't kissing no ass. I ain't holding fucking hands, and I don't drink fucking chai." And the commander's like, so anyway, they partnered me with one of the real Afghanistan dudes. You know, that was there. He was a colonel, whatever. Anyway, by the time we were done with the rotation in the box, he gave me a nice, neck headdress and shit. And then me, him, and the brigade commander and I think my battalion commander talking, and he told them straight up, he's like, "Yeah, sergeant major should not be an advisor. He's very angry." I was like, "Please, sir." So I deployed, but I ran the talk.
Yeah.
Basically, I did the talk in battlefield tourism.
Yeah.
Going around all the fobs and shit.
Was that 13, 14?
Yeah, it was 13, 14.
Okay. That was my last, well, before I just went to Syria, that was my last one too. I was at Leatherneck doing PSD for the Army Corps of Engineers.
I've been to Leatherneck a couple times.
Yeah, we had our own little compound over on the east side, right by the airstrip. There was a chow hall over there. We had our own comp. Dude, it was sick. We had our own gym. It's like six Army dudes, a whole bunch of civilian contractors, and some Army Corps of Engineers civilians, and like 2 Army Corps of Engineers enlisted, or 1 officer and 1 enlisted. It's like, it was wild, bro.
Living large.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah,
but
man.
yeah. So hey, what? So on your 9/10 deployment, there's 2 books written about this deployment.
Yeah.
What are they?
So 2009-10, it was my second deployment as a first sergeant.
Okay.
My company was Bravo Company 2508. We deployed, I think it was like August of 09. But our original mission was we were going as advise and assist for the Afghan army, because they were trying to really push everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got nixed. And then we got my company, we got pushed to Lashkar Helmand, so we deployed to there.
Okay.
And the rest of the battalion stayed in Kandahar, but not out in sector. They were on CAF, I think, and maybe some guys were on Leatherneck, somewhere out there. But we were attached to the Brits down in Helmand for 3 months. Right before Thanksgiving, my battalion commander drove down there. It was like 120 clicks or whatever. Came and talked to me and my company commander and told us, he's like, "Hey man, we're getting battle space. You guys are the main effort, and you're gonna take some fucking casualties." And we were like, "What are you talking about, sir?" And then he started talking, and we were like, "Oh." And he told us about Kandahar, the valley, stopping them from getting across the river, all that shit. And the unit that was there before us, I hate when people do it. I might have done it before, but I'm not going to say their unit designation.
Mm-hmm.
But the unit that was there before us got hit really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they quit, basically. It was in Stars and Stripes and Army Times and all that shit. And I think they were there for maybe 3 months in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and they lost a lot of guys. Like I said, they had a damn striker get blown up, all kind of shit. Anyway, my commander's talking to us, and he's like, "Hey, check it. The only way to take that valley is to live in it." And we're like, "Yeah, we know." And he's like, "All right, well, we're going to clear it. You guys are going to be the main effort, and you guys are going to set up right smack dab in the middle of the valley." I was like, what kind of support we getting, sir? Yeah, yeah. Uh, I mean, our battalion did the clearance operation into the Argandab, I think December 19th of 2009. Lost my first guy, Johnston, on the day after Christmas, and then we started finding IEDs left and right. Uh, Thought we were figuring it out because we got out there in the winter and set up some OPs up in the mountains, so we could watch. We had one lock in and out, but we secured it. So anytime anything went down that lock, we patrolled it first. We
Mm-hmm.
went down it with them, all the shit. We kept eyes on them. But what we didn't realize was, number one, that was the main effort for the Taliban at that point. Number two, once the greenery came out, they had so much freedom of movement.
Can't see
Because
him.
when those valleys got lush,
Mm-hmm.
they could move anywhere. We could have fucking IR, we could have radio. You wouldn't see the shit.
Damn.
So the only way to keep it clear was to dominate the terrain. And so we wound up, fighting and fighting and fighting. We set up company cop, Cop Johnston, Cop Brunkhorst, and Cop Karen um, during that deployment. But I could get into it. But
No, I
the
get it.
first book was written was in 2019. The Independence Fund started Operation Resiliency, and because of who the executive director was at the time and her husband Mike, my guy and all that, she hit me up and was like, "I got this idea. What do you think?" And I was like, "I think it's awesome." But we talked about it, and like I told him, I thought the only way that it would work is if you got the unit back together as a unit,
Mm-hmm.
not like 10 dudes show up. Like
Yeah.
get them boys back together, like get them back as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, man.
Wow.
I went on Facebook, and the commander went on Facebook. We talked about it. We were scared shitless, man, because at that point there had been guys that hadn't even faced, because when you're a senior leader, that shit all falls on you, and then sometimes you use the excuse of, I'm guilty or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately it's you're scared to face them because you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's like I said, you don't know how to re-engage,
Mm-hmm.
and but what I will tell you is, out of the 119 guys left, I think we had over 100 show up.
Wow.
The ones that didn't show up, minus a couple, just physically couldn't because they had work or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, but Sarah, because she has, you know, political influence and all this stuff, and they had all these politicians there for our dinner, and they had a West Point um, journalist, and his name's Ben Kessler, and he was there just to do a story about Operation Resiliency for that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I met the guy, talked to him, and I was like, hey, he's a good kid. Like, he was a Marine Corps infantry officer, got out, started working for Wall Street Journal as a journalist. And anyway, he wrote the story about us, about how it was so cool to see these men who had been through so much reconnect, just like it had never left off.
Yeah.
And like he said, to see guys be able to talk to me and talk to my CEO and ask us why certain things happen, you know, and get a little closure. And I was there. I told the CEO, and the CEO told me, it's like, sir, we might get there. Some dude might want to punch me in the face, and I get it. And he's like, I know. He's like, but you know, the one thing I know is all these guys love you. And I was like, they love you too, sir. They just don't fucking know it. And they do. They love him to death. That dude, I'll still say it. You can read about him in the book, but best officer I ever served with in my career, bar none. Still now about to be a big time brigade commander. But after that, he does a better job than I do at keeping up with these guys, and he's still in the fucking army.
Yeah.
You know?
How did that go with the guys and you, this the command team?
It actually went really well, man. Like it was. Just put it this way: the guys tell me how therapeutic it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. They do good stuff. They have counselors there to give you some, but it's not. It's just about the guys reconnect.
Yeah.
And but to and I'm not just saying. I might tear up, dude. Like me and the CEO were there, and I had quite a few dudes come up to me and hug me and tell me thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And
You thought a
a
lot of
couple
these
of them were
guys
like,
might have hated you.
yeah, like one of them now, Jared Lemon. He's literally like my little brother. He's missing his right arm, but like he said, he's like, you were the biggest dick, but you were the biggest dick that gave a shit about us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that one, you see, I never get over it.
Yeah.
I had, I think they put in a book, and people say, I don't know the numbers. They say over 50% of the company got Purple Hearts. I know we had 40 plus guys get Purple Hearts.
Wow.
We had, I don't want to say numbers wrong, but we had in the high 20s that were severely wounded evac. We had 11 amputees,
Oh
3
my
KIAs.
God.
And if we'd have been a shitty unit, we would have lost a lot more guys.
Yeah.
And there's books about the guys that came in after us now,
Mm-hmm.
and they got fucked up. But yeah, man, if you read, so I know it would take hours to talk about it all, but basically, what they do at Operation Resiliency is the plan is to bring units who were truly hit hard in combat
Mm-hmm.
back together as a unit. But the only way it'll work, and I see they're still having problems, is if you get dudes like me and the commander to say, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I tell these guys, I'm like, if you are a commander or first sergeant, platoon sergeant, whatever, if you know that every day, every fucking day that you were breathing in that uniform,
Mm-hmm.
that it was about them, they might have hated you at the time, man, but they want you back in their fucking life. You just don't realize. And what I tell my peers is you don't realize how much you need them. You know, like, dude,
Yeah.
I had such a void,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
One, I will say I can relate because my last deployment was the most responsibility I ever had. I didn't have the biggest group of guys or anything, but uh, you know, the I've had a few of my guys. I was in charge of 4 guys. Say that like, you know, I became a dick for I was a dick at times, but then they realized it later why. I mean, some of that was just overall stress, and I didn't get
yeah,
separate living quarters. I'm living with these dudes who are like, I'm almost 20 years older than for 9 months straight.
dude,
Plus before deployment in a tent, under all that stress and everything going on, and I have to make sure they do their job. And it's like, that was messed up, bro. I should have had my own spot. But anyways, like, 70% of it was just because you have to be as a leader to get the job done. But
yeah, but
30% of that was just probably me being stressed out.
you know what I used to tell dudes? I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, man, it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not you. It's not me. It's the situation.
Yeah.
Once the deficiency is fixed, it's over.
Well, and the cool thing is being guard, like, there's hard things about guard, like, you don't get to go home and then be with the same guys until a few guys PCS or whatever. But we're all still in Michigan and we get together 2 to 4 times a year. We've been back a year and a half. We've got together like 4 times already, so almost quarterly. And dude, it's so cool. It's so cool. And yeah, so that's been a cool thing about it. But yeah.
I had a guy talk to me about it because, like I told him, I was like, if you're being a good combat leader, you're not their fucking friend. These dudes are like, well, I disagree. You can still be their friend. I was like, as a good combat leader, you can be their friend and make decisions. He's like, well, you got dudes that you're in charge of that you're friends with. I was like, I didn't say that. What did I say? If you're a combat leader, you know, and you gotta. I don't know, man. Like with your four guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You as a leader, if your leaders didn't teach you this, which I'm sure they did because you're an older guy, this is something that, um, and forgive me when I do this, man, because like seriously, I'm dealing with some TBI shit right now. But
Yeah.
you you're you have to know everything about that kid that you are in charge of. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Birthday. Did he got a spouse? Kids? Where do they live? Where are they from? You know, all this shit,
Yep.
right?
Everything's gonna wear on them at different times. You have to know all the
Okay.
angles.
Okay. I talk to guys who have not been team leaders, squad leaders, shit like that. They don't understand the importance of that shit.
Yeah, they just
You know?
think get the job done, do it right.
Yeah.
You have to be very broad-minded as a real leader. Know your guys. Like I can lead this guy this way. I can lead this
Bingo.
guy this way because everyone's different, man.
Everybody. Like, I may be able to knife hand you and say, look, motherfucker,
Mm-hmm.
and you're fucking on it.
Yeah.
Or you might be that kid that's the end of life for you, and I just destroyed you and I beat you down instead of I know you're the kind of kid that you're squared away and you really give a shit. Then all I need to do is put my hand on your shoulder. Hey, come here, man. I know you fucking better. You know,
Yeah.
let's get this shit right. And
Yep.
that'll eat at his soul. But it's like, just like you said, you know, I told somebody this, and like you said, you're a platoon sergeant now, but like I was a command sergeant major of an airborne infantry battalion,
Man.
800 plus guys. You're basically the battalion therapist when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, at like 1800, that's when you're talking to all the people that are on your fucking calendar, basically.
Uh-huh.
And it's always 99% of the time they're bitching for no fucking reason with no fucking fix for it. And then
Uh-huh.
I crush their soul and shit like that. But you truly, I told this to some guys I got asked to speak at the 508 reunion. I told those guys what's truly special about the military. You know, people say diversity. No, unity and discipline is what makes the military great. But what makes it special is you do have that melting pot of people of all different, not just races and all that shit, but cultures,
Yeah.
but also temperaments.
Mm.
You know, like
Yeah.
I know some squared away motherfuckers, but you got to fucking jerk a knot in their ass to keep them from getting in trouble sometimes. You know,
Well, yeah,
and
you
that
got
is the
like
guys.
field guys who are amazing at
Yeah,
doing their job, but you leave them in the barracks and they're not in the field, and you're like, dear Lord.
and that's when the leadership comes in
Yeah.
because it's like you got to make dudes understand there ain't no field army and garrison army. It's
Well,
just fucking army.
yeah.
That's how you still do this. Like you catch a dude with a dirty uniform. This is my field uniform, Sergeant Major. The fuck's a field uniform? Is it a duty uniform or not? You know, like, come on.
Yeah.
But you'll hear, I'm sure you guys say it. You know, we used to say it. What's my field uniform? You know, technically, no, it's your duty uniform,
Yeah.
dick. You know, but yeah, man.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. In the Marine Corps, like you go to the field, boonies are on. Like you do not wear your cover, we call it, not your PC in the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah.
Like, all right, so were you a boonie sergeant major or no?
Well, as a sergeant major, I was if you weren't fucking wearing a fucking helmet, you were wearing a beret.
Oh yeah, you're airborne.
Yeah, in the 82nd, the only time you wear a PC is during a clean sweep or when your guys are on detail.
Okay.
And they got the thing on in the hat.
So you don't even bust out boonies in the field?
Now, on deployment, we wear boonies and shit.
Okay.
When everybody's wearing, but out in the field and shit, no.
I see. You
Not
know,
like us, man. It's like,
yeah. I did forgot about that. You were 82nd.
Yeah.
I cannot stand when it's like, oh, we're not wearing booty caps to the field. Where I came from the Marine Corps, is like, do you just want me to get sunburned, dude? Is that
no,
that
I
where
love
we're
booty
at?
caps, man. Like
They're
when we were
so
deployed,
great,
those things are money.
bro. Like if
Well,
you're
like
in the
I got
field,
one. I went to JOTC in Panama in like '95,
damn.
and I got me a jungle, tiger stripe booty cap down there. I thought I was a shit. I
Yeah.
was that little Joe with my booty cap, looking like a total dweeb. Yeah.
Hey, what's
Yeah, man.
what's the name of those two books?
Oh, so the one about us, basically Bravo Company and Afghanistan deployment, this aftermath.
Okay.
Ben Kessling wrote, because he wrote that article in Wall Street Journal, and he got hit up by publishers and was like, you should write a book about these guys.
Okay.
So then he hit us up, and he worked on it for about 2 years. And it's a good book, man. He does a good job of, if you don't understand the military, of painting a picture of what guys go through, i.e., pre-deployment, deployment, back in the rear, wounded guy, all that shit. So he does a really good
outside looking in, telling your story.
Yeah. Now, there are some inaccuracies, even though, he's went through some, and it's not like malicious shit, but it's like some dude's like, well, such and such wasn't there that day. Okay, dude, who gives a fuck? Like he's getting secondhand from other guys.
Yeah.
But like I told the guys, I'm like, at least he's telling your story.
Yeah.
And then Will Yeski, he was in first platoon. He was my RTO. He wrote Damn the Valley about first platoon in the Valley, our mission, what we're doing.
Okay.
He talks about me in the book being the professional asshole.
Yeah.
But
you don't hide from that
book. But I will tell you, Damn the Valley. One, if you're an infantry soldier, you need to read it, man. Especially if you've never been in combat, because it's not pretty, it's not Hollywood, it's real. He talks about the boredom. He talks about, but
yeah,
what he shows is what an infantry platoon, what their life is like during a year like that. And he wanted me to read it when he was working it, and it took me a while to even get to it, because like you saw, I started, and when I started reading it, I couldn't put it down because it brought so much shit back. There are a couple things about me that he had in there that are, the story's right, just the details are inaccurate. But the details make me sound like more of an asshole, so I was like, it's good, man. But nah, man, he did a really good job of actually showing what these guys went through. And for me, being the first sergeant on that deployment, and I mean, you can read that book, and these guys will tell you, I was a first sergeant. In the Army infantry, it's not like a Marine Corps first sergeant. You're the senior tactical guy. You're not some fucking you're still in charge of all the admin too, but you're not some admin dude.
Yeah. Well, you in the Marine Corps, you have a gunny to help out. Like I feel like
the gunny basically does what an Army first sergeant does.
Yeah, I feel like the Army first sergeants are overworked, dude. Like there needs to be an E7 buffer to do all the logistics and stuff. Like you can't take care of. Yeah, dude.
If you're I used to tell dudes, if you're a smart first sergeant, you got to pick an ops guy you trust, and it gets shit done, and is a self starter.
Yeah.
Like I always pick some good ones, and then a platoon sergeant be like, "Why the fuck he didn't get called in?" I'm like, "Cause he's here fucking every fucking Saturday when I'm in here, dick. When you're at home playing with your kids, shit like that." But those guys, ultimately, a senior NCO, you're only going to be successful if your subordinates are squared the fuck away and do their jobs.
Dude,
You know,
100%. You should have
but
seen.
in order for them to do that,
Yeah.
you have to be the asshole, but you also have to be empowering, but not in a I'm here to be your fucking friend way. Like I even had, like, check this out, man.
Mhm.
You'll think it's funny. He's a retired command sergeant major now, but hell, you should have him on here. You would love him. He's from fucking Minnesota. Oh no, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, he talks like that. But he's literally, to me, he was me in the Army, you know, coming up.
Uh-huh.
But he was one of my platoon sergeants when I was a first sergeant. I did the Fox thing. See my brain, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Fox.
You're talking about oh boy, I'm old too. I don't think I have any CBI stuff.
No, it's a
No, we're talking about the book, and then you were talking about how you were described, and then
oh yeah,
your
yeah,
mentor.
yeah. No, so what I was trying to say is like Fox and I even talked about this. You know, he was a platoon sergeant at the time, but he knew me when I was a platoon sergeant. You know, shit
Okay.
like this. But the goddamn, why is my brain doing this right now? But the thing, oh fuck, why am I talking about? Because I'm trying to tell you about the book and make it make sense.
Okay.
So, Damn the Valley. The great thing about it is, like dudes like me and Fox even talked about, is for us, one, not he wasn't at first platoon, he was third platoon, but I was a first sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't get in these kids' heads. I didn't see the ground that they saw every day. You know, I mean, I patrolled out there with them. But I couldn't be with them all.
Yeah.
But to be able to read a book from their mouths, their perspectives, their eyes, man,
Uh-huh.
and for me to actually read how what we did as a company got them through that deployment for it. You know, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And I was trying to articulate that, and I know there was probably some really profound point up there with Fox that I was going to make, and it might pop up. I'm sorry, but
fine.
yeah, man, that book, he does such a great job of showing what a no bullshit infantry combat deployment is like. You know, like just the
Yeah.
day ins, day outs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the suck, dudes getting pissed off at each other. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I got to go do a fucking 3 hour patrol through the valley, and then I got to come back. I might get 2 hours of rack. Then I got to fucking pull 2 hours on the guard tower.
Oh,
You know?
trying to stay awake. Oh.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So for me, I think maybe that's what I was getting with Fox, because we were in OF1 together. He was a private back then, but we don't have anything like that from back in our day. You know, like I wish somebody would have wrote something so we'd have it, because like even if I tried to write a book right now, I can't remember.
Yeah, you forget
shit,
too
and
much.
if I did, yeah, you know.
That's a good
But I'm
point.
saying it's just, yeah.
So you got I guess we'll kind of circle back. So you go through all these deployments. You retire in 2017. And then we'll kind of get into what that's like. All right, so 2017, you know, it's time to go home, I guess, for you. What was the emotions like of, I mean, your whole adult life, right? Of doing this and going through, I mean,
Yeah.
so many challenges and experiences. How did you feel?
Well, I broke my neck while I was a CSM,
Oh,
so I had to get a fusion done during Christmas. The guys didn't even know it.
oh,
Tried everything I could to try to be able to jump again, but how bad my shit was and the way I got the hardware,
okay.
they're like, you're not doing static line anymore. Like if I'd have had like a regular one, I guess I probably could have.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, all right, I could stay in, but I'm gonna be on a profile and all this shit, and I can go be a fucking sergeant major somewhere, blah blah blah. But like, truthfully, at that point, I got to see the politics, you know, up there, and
Mm-hmm.
for a dude like me, beyond battalion. That's why you don't see many dudes like me up in these levels here because I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that's yeah. So it was kind of almost at the end of my career. Me and my buddy had talked about this. The one missing out. Like we were like the fucking dinosaurs, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, we were like the abrasive, mean old fucking crusty motherfuckers that all these officers that were senior coming up below us and even other didn't want to have to deal with because one, they knew we knew our job better than they fucking did, and we knew their job too. But two, because you could see it back then on how the military was kind of crafting this, going from, you get indoctrinated into a way of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we stopped indoctrinating people. We started, instead of indoctrinating people, we started welcoming them.
Dude,
If that makes sense to you.
No, I get it, because, well, especially, like, the Marine Corps is a much smaller organization, and our boot camps don't vary. There's no different
Yeah.
MOS boot camps. And, like, being in the, I've been in the Guard, and it's not active duty, but it's all the same pipeline for basic training. And, like,
Yep.
you see these guys come out, show up, don't even stand at parade rest.
Yeah.
And their first drill, and you're like, okay, I'm going to kill you. And, dude, it is wild. And then, like, people don't even pass their physical fitness test coming out of basic training. Like, you have girls, or not, I want to say girl. I had a girl, a female soldier, who started crying before my second deployment on the rifle range. I'm like, you're a soldier? Like, I don't care if you're a guy or girl. That's neither here nor there. You're crying, trying to shoot an M4. How did you get through basic training?
Yeah. Why are you even here?
And I think also, unfortunately, I have to say, it's a much larger organization. But, like, I feel like the Marine Corps has that mentality. Like, if you're admin, your number one job is to shoot people. And I feel like the Army lacks that a lot, to be honest.
No. Yeah. The Army, if you're not a trained trigger puller,
Yeah.
like your weapon, hell, some dudes never even go fucking qualify with their shit.
Yeah.
I've seen that. And I'm like, wait, are you fucking serious, man?
Wow.
Imagine being a brigade op sergeant major, the shit you see. It's like, nah, you're gonna go shoot, motherfucker. Like that's your job. But yeah, man.
Yeah, you're not wrong though. Like, I would say the standards are slipping. Like, it'll be interesting to see what's happening right now with all these changes in our military. I think maybe the standards are going back up. We'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing too, man. Like I said, I talked to the 508 guys and all that stuff. Is I don't think standards, most minimum standards, stay the same. You know.
If are they enforced?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
like here's the thing, man. And I think this is important because I've had some dudes tell me that this helped them out a lot. If I'm grabbing you and making a correction on it, I need to explain to you why that's a standard, why we do it, why it's there, how long it's been there, all that shit. But if you go to even an active duty unit right now and you ask a first sergeant, hey, why do you not do this? Guarantee you don't fucking know.
Mm.
Now, me, when I was a first sergeant, you asked me about fucking 670-1 or any of that shit, I could I'd crush you on it. Well, when I was in the old guard too.
Yeah.
They talk about that in the book, how I was just a uniform Nazi.
Ah.
But all that shit matters,
Yeah.
and the other thing is when you got guys like me, I grew up like, for example, I gotta say this. Sergeant Major McDowell. He was my platoon sergeant in Hawaii. Then he came back to the 82nd. We were together in the 82nd. He was in 1 Fury. I was a 2 Fury. This guy, when I was a young squad leader, and he was my platoon sergeant in Hawaii, I fucking hated him. Like, literally, I even told myself some nights, I was like, if he didn't have fucking E7 on, I'd knock him the fuck out right now. Like, literally.
Yeah.
And then, when I became a platoon sergeant, I started understanding everything that he did and why it all made sense.
Wow.
And why, even as a platoon sergeant or first sergeant, I'm not just saying this, man. I fucking outshined my peers because he trained me. He showed me that I don't give a fuck what they're doing. No, I don't give a fuck. This is what we're fucking doing. Because this is what the Army says we're fucking doing. And he would explain to you why. If he was going to keep you there till fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, he was there with you. You know, like we were out in the field training, patrol base. You get up and do stand to. I'd try my damnedest to get up and be camo before him and shit as a squad leader. Fuck no. Beat me every time. Like literally, I just thought he was just an asshole to be an asshole because my guys were squared away, this and that. But just because they knew their jobs didn't mean we needed to be soft on them and take care of them. We needed to make them understand that they're fucking infantrymen and that discipline is the key to living in combat.
Yeah.
And McDowell truly taught me that. Like, I don't think I ever really told it to him that way, but he showed up. I hadn't seen him in years. He's a pastor now. This dude cusses more than me. And he's from New York, I think the Bronx. But he showed up to my change of responsibility when I became a CSM, and
wow.
At least then I finally got to tell him that the only reason I was there is because of him. You know, like
Do you talk to him now?
What's that?
You talk to him at all now?
No, I don't even know how to get a hold to him, man. Like nobody does.
Wow.
You know, I wish, but you know, you look back on this stuff, and you know, I tell these guys and gals that I talk to now that are in or either going in and on, I'm like, no matter what you see, no matter what anybody else is doing, whatever you're supposed to do that. And then know, if you know every day when you open them little eyes, when you wake up in the morning and do PT, that you don't know shit, you're going to be a great soldier. But if you wake up thinking you know fucking shit, fuck you.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what guy I'm talking about. You know, like I tell guys, till the day I fucking retired, I learned something every day.
Yeah.
And maybe I should address it. You didn't ask it, but almost every dude, every podcast, everything I've been on. Why do sergeants and majors care about the grass? Do you know?
I think it's just the first visible sign of maybe it's kind of like the broken window theory in a bad neighborhood. I'm guessing. I don't know what the answer is.
No, you already hit the nail on the head. You're the first one to do it.
Really?
Yeah. Perception is fucking reality.
Yeah, man. If your grass is made up, then you don't care about shit.
If the grass in front of my battalion's got a trail coming from the parking lot through it instead on the sidewalk, then I'm fucked up from the floor up anyway.
Yeah.
So my first day as a CSM, I had staff duty, and I think one of my staff officers pulled guard on the parking lot because I had them go, and I said, if you see anybody walking on my fucking grass, bring them to me. It was one of my staff officers, and I made his ass guard the parking lot. I was like, "You're that fucking lazy, sir?" You know?
I feel pretty honored that I'm the first one to get that.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, man. Perception's reality. It's the same thing. Like if I'm on patrol and I look like if you come out, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah,
you're probably not going to come out,
dude.
But if I'm that one that walks up and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah,
I'm hitting those dudes.
exactly.
You know, it's the same fucking thing.
I had the same. Yeah, man. I was listening to a Sean Ryan podcast, and he had this dude who was a cop out there, I think, in Fayetteville. And he said the same thing. He was a prior Army, I think he was 82nd, yeah. And
Yeah.
he's like, dude, when I was a police officer, I looked so squared away every day. And people in the hood literally were like, we don't mess with that guy because we know he's squared.
Yeah, because it's perception. If you look like a hard target, then you are a hard target.
Yeah, man. 100%.
That's why it's all about the discipline, taking care of your boys. And then the other thing, just like you said, I'll say it now. I've said it on everything. I'll tell anybody out there. The day the Army fucked up was the day they stopped shining fucking boots.
Yeah, but I would, dude, I mean, I think I had to shine a lot of things in Marine Corps boot camp, like with Brasso and like
Yeah.
you still had to shine stuff on your dress uniform. So we had some, but like I remember my dad telling me because he was in the Marine Corps 15 years, like 79, and then had a break, got back in, he got out in like 95. Just like he's like, I spent all my off time starching my camis and shining my boots, man. And I mean, the
Well,
man of discipline, and then like doing the old guard, and like that's just insane.
but that's the thing, man. Is it's you don't realize how that silly shit becomes important later on.
Yeah. Well, like who was that? You know that famous speech that's like online about the SEAL admiral or whoever, I think it was a SEAL, said, "Make your bed every morning because you had to win right away." You know. Yeah. So like, you know, I think that discipline every day, it's hard to do, man. Like, I try to make myself every morning wake up. Not, I try to hit the gym 4 days a week. Some days I can sleep a little longer. I got a couple of kids right now. Um, you try to help out the wife so she's not dealing with them every time. But
Yep.
like get up in the morning, hit the gym, and read my Bible every day. And then usually, like reading my Bible, I don't do it. Like maybe a third of the time. And it like you just have to build the discipline, and it changes your whole day, man.
Yeah.
So
It's and it's easy. The discipline is easy to lose. It's perishable.
yeah, man.
But yeah, I've been on some big podcasts. I've been on these things, and I say it all the time, man. People ask me, what's the number one thing that keeps dudes alive in combat?
Yeah.
Well, what about training, shoot, move, communicating? Well, yeah, but like, I can be a damn good break dancer or fucking goddamn diver or whatever, but if I'm not disciplined,
Yeah, I mean
probably not going to win.
the discipline to stay awake on post when you're just exhausted, bro. Like there's times, yeah, I started falling asleep, and you're like, whoa, and it's been like a
Yeah.
minute. But, I mean, you're just past that point of exhaustion. But the fact that you're fighting it, knowing the guys that are sleeping right now are relying on you, man.
But it's good you said that the way you said it, because you're right, man. Like,
Or get yourself home if you're nodding off and a guy kills you, and you don't get home to your wife and kids or your family or whatever. Like,
yeah,
shoot. But
well, like,
even more so, it's the guys that are relying on you right now.
yeah, well,
How would you
like,
live with yourself? You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like so all that stuff is super important.
yeah, man. Well, like with that, like for example, one time, damn good NCO, he asked me one time because if we were told that the uniform in theater was fucking knee pads, we're wearing fucking knee pads. Like whatever it was. I remember I had one of my squad leaders when I was a first sergeant ask me, he's like, "First sergeant, does it really fucking matter if I'm wearing knee pads?" Because he asked me if he could ask me. I'm like, "No, it ain't gonna save your fucking life." I'm like, "But you know what does matter? The discipline to do it because I fucking told you to." And he's like, And I said, because check this out. You are at a level in your career to where you're not getting paid to autonomously think above your pay grade. Therefore, you don't change standards. You don't do any of that shit. You just adhere to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you do that is because, and then I explained it to him. For example, knee pads when we were there. I said, all right, knee pads ain't gonna save your fucking life, but they'll keep your knees from getting fucked up. But what they will do is when you get fucked up and we fill out that casualty feeder statement and it says PPE worn and there's no knee pads or there's no gloves or any of this shit, guess what TRICARE and the VA are trying to do?
Yeah, dude. Any reason
Fuck
to deny
you.
you.
Yeah. Because that's what you're supposed to fucking do. Like I've had dudes tell me, like OF1, you see pictures of me, we had our sleeves rolled and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then there was no standard.
Yeah.
There was no standard on that. Now, later on, you were in the Army when they did it. They came out with change 1 to 670-1, and they made it authorized to roll or cuff your sleeves.
Yeah.
At any time. And then I would always catch motherfuckers with their sleeves cuffed in. And 99% of the time it was an officer, but NCOs. And then the excuse was, oh, I'm sorry, I was eating chow. Shut the fuck up. Button your shit, make it fit. And then I explained to him, I'm like, you know why you got to do this? You got to do this? Because when you're out there, all this shit's supposed to be flame retardant and everything. Do I think you're not going to get fucked up and burn up? No. But when somebody says, hey, he wasn't wearing his gloves or his eye pro or this or that, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So, and guess what? You don't have the mental capacity to make decisions based off of how you feel because you haven't seen the world yet, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would tell them is the only person in this company that has the authority to change anything that we do is the commander. Like I had a kid one time, love him to death, still talk to him, Bull Green, he's a fucking stud. We're in the Argandab, the combat shirts when they first came out?
Yeah.
They had like the turtleneck thing on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he shows up getting ready to go out on patrol, out of the cop. I was like, Sir Booger, where'd you get that fucking combat shirt from? It's ours, First Sergeant. I was like, what's up with it? Where's the shit? He said, oh, we cut that off because it was hot. It was hot, First Sergeant. I was like, well, go take them fucking off and put your fucking other tops back on. They're on service. And he still tells me, he's like, I was like, he's such a fucking dick. But now he understands why I did it, But you don't understand that shit.
Hey, man, I don't know how you roll without that. That shit would rub my neck raw without.
No. Well, my whole point was, well, I think Yeski might have put it in his book, but we had this fat kid in my company, and I put him on a fucking combat shirt profile. He wasn't allowed to wear them at all. Then I said, anybody else big bone? You ain't fucking wearing them either. Because you remember they had like on Army Times and the Marine Corps, they had like the fat Marine and they had like the fat Army dude with the pizza and shit.
Yeah, dude.
That ain't going to be us. Dude was let me say, I'm sorry, I'm not fat shaming. He wasn't fat. He's just a big guy with, a gut.
Yeah.
But could still kick some ass and was a damn good paratrooper, was good at PT.
Yeah.
But looked like shit wearing fucking some shit, like, no, man. But yeah, that's how I was, man. Like even in Yeski's book, there's a part where he talks about it. And God rest his soul, Johnston, after our first deployment to Afghanistan, he was with me. And he got some weird funk. So he got this shaven shit where he couldn't shave. And I got pissed off and I put him on a no uniform profile. I was like, well, you ain't gonna wear a fucking beret and a uniform with a beard and look like shit. Well, anyway, my sergeant major called him. My sergeant major now is my real good buddy, who I love deeply. But he tells a story. He's like, I caught this kid, and I was like, I've seen you around for like 2-3 days. Are you in this battalion? He was like, Roger, Sergeant Major. What fucking company you in? Bravo Company. Why the fuck are you not in uniform? First sergeant won't let me. And then he explained it to him. And then I get a call from Puck, Sergeant Major. He's like, Mac, come down here to my office. So I go to his office, pulls me in. He's like, I got to save you from yourself. I was like, Sergeant Major, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, he can't shave. I don't want him wearing a uniform. And he understood.
Mm-hmm.
So then, me being the dickhead I am, when the sergeant major said I had to let him wear a uniform, I literally had just got tasked to send a dude to work at the tax office in civilians for 3 months. So guess who I sent? Beard Dog. But to Johnston's credit, till probably 10 years ago, I couldn't even say his name, man. And to his credit, he was non-deployable with all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us all, he's like, I'm going to deploy. And he did. He came a couple months late. Then he got killed the day after Christmas. But in the book, it talks about that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But all of that was about discipline and the team. And, you know, like I had my whole company when we were at JRTC before our 9-10 deployment. We all shaved our heads. And my sergeant major was like, oh my fucking God. He's like, Mac, you can't make them do that. I was like, Sergeant Major, I'd make nobody do shit. I said, hey, we're not doing barracks haircuts. We're all going to fucking shave our heads, and I'm going first. That's the way I said it. I didn't say you have to. I didn't say you gotta. Yeah, but when you talk about that stuff, you know, even my commander at the time, you know, he had like a receding hairline and shit, so he thought I was joking.
Uh-huh.
I come in there, my shit's bald. He's like, "You serious, first sergeant?" I was like, "Yeah, your turn, sir." And he didn't want to, but he did it, you know. But now we talk about that shit, and the guys still say, "Okay, it sucked, but it's pretty fucking cool because everybody was talking about us." I'm like, "Yeah, see." I'm like, "We were fucking deploying. What do you need? It ain't like you're picking up chicks."
Yeah.
You know, like,
Dude,
I mean, hell, when I met my wife, I had a bald head.
So in the Marine Corps, and you like the first time you go on deployment, you're new guy, your head gets shaved. But like, I try to kind of like instill that in the Army, and like, dudes spot me like they're, nah, we're not doing that. I'm like, you guys are lame, man.
Yeah, like
it's just a.
You got to get dudes past all that shit, and it's about
the experience, dude.
It's about the experience and the shared suffering.
Yeah.
You know, the shared suffering.
No one can. There's nothing. It's wild. Like, I'm really ready to be done. I'm retiring, you know, in less than a year probably. But like, you can't. Nobody can take that from you, man. And the only people that get it are the guys that did it with.
Yeah, that's it.
So, speaking of suffering, let's talk about leaving the military.
Well, like I said, man,
Was it easy for you?
Made the decision. Sergeant Major Flowers was one of the reasons because I asked for his advice. I got out, went balls to the wall, working, doing a lot of stuff with the nonprofit and all. And, dude, about a year, I guess about a year after I got out, after I was all fucked up. Like I had to take a tactical pause, take a step back, and figure out who the fuck Mac was. You know, like back then, I started growing a beard, but I still had the short hair, and I still kind of had that. I don't know how to say it, man, without sounding weird. But like, you don't realize it. But like, as a command sergeant major, for example, in the Army, when I was in, all I'd have to do would be whisper something, and it was done.
Yeah.
You know, when you get out here, like,
no one cares.
You know, you're the alpha. All of a sudden, nobody gives a fuck. They don't even know what a fucking command sergeant major was. You know.
Yeah.
But that's not what fucked me up. What fucked me up was the fact that, and you know what, I'll shit my head, man. I could talk about this shit for hours, but the fact that I had been through so much pain and so much bad shit that I've seen over the years
Mm-hmm.
that it just was dominating my soul and my psyche. Like the demon was winning, you know?
Mm.
And, you know, my wife, my best friend, the dude with the eye, you know, they had to come to Jesus. And he told me him and his wife got a divorce. He's like, Mac, don't lose Diane like I lost, you know. So I went and I got, you know, I don't have my shit together, but I'm more together now.
Uh-huh.
But I got out. My point to saying this is I got a couple buddies that are about to retire. You're about to retire. It's okay to take a tactical pause, man. You know,
Yeah.
like I was working with a nonprofit when I got out, and I was so passionate about what I was doing, but at the same time, I was using all of that to hide all the bullshit I was going through.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to kind of take a tactical pause, figure some shit out, kind of, you know, went to therapy, different stuff, and I'm not that kind of guy. And then I figured out the key to, for me,
Mm-hmm.
the shit I've dealt with is being able to ID the threat before it hits. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like I can ID that target and know it's coming and remove myself from the situation without, because dude, I have, like, to my wife, my daughters, my friends, dude, I was just evil son of a bitch. That's not who I am in my soul. You gotta
Well,
fix it. So I fixed it
good.
halfway, I think.
Yeah. Let me.
Since then, man, like I said, has really helped get me going. Is you've seen it, like I've had my foot in a lot of fires,
Yeah.
but all of that, none of it matters. What matters now, where I'm at in my life now, is that I have dudes that I know that I talk to that follow me on Instagram and shit, and I'm still leading like I did in the military by example. And I didn't even understand that back then when I had to go through my shit, that I'm still that guy. I still should be some kind of example for guys, you know? So what I had to learn was to lead by example now is just fucking doing me. Just figure out what makes Mac happy, man. Figure out what makes Mac tick. Figure out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, what are my hobbies? You know, what, because my whole adult life was shoot, move, communicate, kill dudes, you know?
Yeah.
And by the end of my career, it was, I say jump, everybody said ha ha, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then all that stops, but you still have that psyche that I'm the fucking alpha, you know?
You know what?
But in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, you know, I did all that shit, but that it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is how I feel right here
Mm-hmm.
and how those around me feel.
Yeah. You have to build your family and your community number one, and then anything else you're passionate about is after
Yep.
that. Because if that's not together, it's not, you're not good, man. Like, how many people, I could think of a couple people top of my head that I knew that were so passionate about, like, what you've done in the veteran nonprofit space, what we're doing at Bunker Bros. We're like
Yeah.
building this community to help each other out, but didn't fix themselves. I'm in counseling right now because my wife was like, I improved a lot, but my wife's like,
Yeah.
like, you're not quite pulling it off, man, and like that's enough. And you're right. So I'm fixing it because I'm like you. Like I'm not gonna accept not fixing it. And then
No, because
and it is our responsibility, and it's not anyone else's. But I know a couple people that were acquaintances or friends of mine, super into these spaces we're in, helping all these people to like transition and do this and that, and then they take their own lives.
mm-hmm.
And it's
No,
like
you know what?
like you just said, that really stuck out to me. Like, you were so focused on this nonprofit, but you weren't fixing your shit.
Nope. And
That comes first.
you know, that's what I like I said. I spoke at the DoD National Suicide Conference in Kansas, Nashville a couple years ago. You know, about
Okay.
suicide and shit. But the thing is I tell all these guys, and I say it on these things, it's like, you're doing all this great stuff. You're this influencer. You're this, you're that. All these kids look up to you, and you help whoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you go and off yourself. That kid that you helped, every bit of hope that they had for the future just left them,
Yeah.
you know? And the way I look at it is I don't owe anybody any fucking thing, and you don't either. And that's a hard thing for us to understand either. But at the end of the day, you have to understand. And my buddy Rudy Reyes, me and him were talking about this, and he said it best. He's like, dude, it's weird to say, but when you get to that point, when you're done with service and you're done with all this, just you got to take care of you, man. You got to
Mm-hmm.
be a little self-centered. And I was like, and he's like, I don't mean, what I mean is you got to focus on you. And like he didn't either, and he was all fucked up.
Dude, I literally just had to go through that lesson myself. My wife literally told me. She goes, I get back from Syria. She's like, I see what you're doing, Eli. You're gonna overextend yourself. You're gonna do too much, and then it's gonna mess you up. And I'm like, I kind of knew she was right. I didn't really say no. I was just like, well, all these things I'm really passionate about. I just had to drop one of them recently because it was just eating me up, and I'm like, you know what? I need to take care of me, and
yeah,
so
man.
I
Well,
had to drop some.
yeah, because if you don't, then those around you are going to suffer, man.
Yeah.
And you know, well, like I said, man, all of us. And I'll be honest, 10 years ago, I was that dude. Oh, he's fucking National Guard, or he was fucking this, or
Mhm.
you know the deal. You know how all this little young fucking
Yeah.
dick measuring contests, all that shit.
Mhm.
After all the shit I went through with this, I had to I had to understand. And one of my buddies, Derek Carver, he's one of the greatest individuals on the planet. Lost his leg up to his hip. He said it to me best, man, and it made me truly understand. And I never really thought about it that way. He's like, dude, you lived on 100 on deployment. My boy, big man back there, he must have snuck in. But like he's like, you lived on 100 on deployment, right? He's like, so did they. He's like, we're trained to get shot at. They're not. He's like, so, like, say you're a pack clerk on CAV, and a 107 rocket comes in and lands fucking, 100 meters from you. That might be just a breakdown into your fucking world because you've never went through anything like that.
Mhm.
But like he said, the whole point is, it's not going through that. It's the living every day you're deployed, switched on,
Yeah.
and never switching off.
Mhm.
And that's what we're talking about right now. It's the switching off. And
Yeah.
my problem when I was really fucked up, and like I said, I'm not good. I don't think I'll ever be good. I don't think any of us who've ever been through the shit that we've been through, you're never going to be who you were before. I mean, that's just.
Yeah. Mhm.
But you can enjoy life, and you can love those around you, and you can love yourself. And
When you can
I'll
thrive,
be
dude.
honest, man.
You can thrive.
I'll do the woe is me shit.
Yeah.
You know, but
I think I said this on a different podcast, and I was talking to a buddy one time, and it came up, and it's really stuck with me. Is I said, we have a particular set of challenges as veterans that no one else has, but we also have, as Liam Neeson said, and Taken, a particular set of skills that
yep.
no one else has as well. And I think if you lean on those skills to close with and destroy the enemy, which could be depression, anxiety, whatever it is that, or PTSD, just do that and beat it, man. Win the fight.
Yeah, and hey, it's nobody else. It's nobody else's fucking fault.
Yeah, just
You
is
know,
what it
like,
is, man.
and with that, well, say one more thing is with a lot of these guys too is especially that just got out after a deployment. They live on those couple war stories.
Mm-hmm.
Either good or bad.
Uh-huh.
The bad ones they let it eat them alive, and it's like, dude, if you can't move past it, then you're never going to see tomorrow because every day you're living here.
That's a
And
that's
I
good.
got a buddy that's doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But and he'll talk to me, and I'm like, dude, I don't relate. And he's like, well, you're a veteran too. Yeah, but I'm a different kind of veteran, just like you're going to be. Like I didn't do one deployment and get out. I did 24 plus fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a different struggle. Like for me, it wasn't trying to figure out how to support my family. For me, it was trying to figure out who the fuck I am because I had my retirement shit coming in where
Yeah.
But for like a kid that does like 4 years or whatever, gets out, wants to go to school, they got all that combat experience, but then they get out, they go back home, dudes still do the same shit, or they go to school and everybody's fucking younger than them and they hate it. The deal. So it's always the woe is me shit, and it's like we have to get past that.
Yeah.
Because nobody owes us a fucking thing. Because I'm pretty sure I volunteered to go in the Army. Pretty sure you volunteered for Marines and Army.
Yeah.
Nobody forced you.
Yep.
Oh. And then the other thing with that, I've seen veterans that get pissed at people when we're talking about this that like thank them for their service. How about somebody thanks you for your service? Just say, like who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Like stop being so angry.
Yeah, they don't know, man. Like, okay, in their mind, you had more gumption and did it than they did. They were trying to give you a compliment.
When how are you going to be angry when the guys before us from Vietnam couldn't even go anywhere?
Yeah.
Jeez,
but
man.
You know what I'm talking about,
Grow
man.
up. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I hate that crap.
Woe is me. Everybody fucking owes me something.
Yeah.
No.
Get over yourself.
But, I'll say this one more time, man. Since I've been retired, done a lot. I'll say it because my wife will probably kill me because it's like 11:30 at night now. But,
yeah.
I'll talk about it real fast just so you got it on here. And I mean, we could get into it on another one, man. And I'm starting my podcast back up. I got my will-be official guys helping me. So I think I did 8 before, but we're going to start Max Man chats back up.
Sweet.
But we might actually have a studio. So if we do, yeah. So we're starting the podcast back up. My buddy Stephen Graham, who runs Team House Studios.
Yep.
I know we could get into all the stuff, but anyway, I know you said at the beginning I was in a movie. Well, anyway, here's a story about that for all you veterans out there. I got out of the Army, retired, went to Helicopters for Heroes in Texas in 2017 with some old guys. And I seen this dude standing out there, and I was like, that dude looks so familiar. And I went and talked to him, and I was like, holy fuck, White Chicks. I was like, you played in White Chicks? And he was like, yeah, you recognize me? It was, Stephen Graham. He was party boy in White Chicks. But anyway, he was there. He's one of the original architects for the 22 push-up challenge.
Okay.
So with 22 kill and all this shit. But anyway, I met him. Met some of my guys. Hit it off. He lived in L.A. He invited me to do honor flight with some World War II veterans and stuff. We had a blast. Me and him became like a little brother to me, man.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned was he had met some veterans back in I think like 2011 or whatever, and started writing a film play about it because he had met so many guys that were just amazing from the war and shit. And he wound up working on a film that's now called Sheepdog that's out, but we can talk about that in a second. But anyway, he became my friend. We're buddies and shit. He calls me this before COVID. It was like summertime. He's like, it's like midnight or whatever. He's like, "Hey man, I got an idea." Like, what? He's like, "Yeah, I got this idea for a movie. You're my inspiration. It's going to be a horror movie, and you're my first phone call. Please tell me you'll do it." And I was like, "Dude, I don't know how to act." He's like, "Yeah, you do. You're a sergeant major in the Army. I've been around a bunch of you guys. You'll be good." I was like, "All right." So anyway, he wrote this horror movie about my character who murders this family in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of them gets away and comes back nowadays, and then I'm the evil entity still. But his idea was, because I'm really good with tomahawks and shit, I used to be really.
Yeah, I seen you do
So,
that.
yeah, so the idea was he was going to have me throwing tomahawks at people in the film and all, but we just didn't have the money to do it because it would have looked like shit, because it's cold as shit. Like, I can hit dead-eye dick all day long, but when you're trying to stick it in a freaking frozen tree in Massachusetts in January,
Just bounce off.
it ain't happening. She just kept bouncing off. So we eventually just went to me covered, like I was just doing all this shit. But anyway, he basically got the opportunity to make this movie as a proof of concept, basically, that he could make movies. And he had these producers. So anyway, made the movie, had Rudy Reyes in it. Rudy was a shaman that goes against me. It's pretty cool. Nate Boyer was in it. But anyway, it came out, did really good as far as like for independent film, even though it's got vertical released it and all, but it looks like, I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks really good. Like, it don't look like a low budget film or anything. Like, it's amazing. And still now on like IMDb, it's got like a 5.6 or some shit for a horror movie.
Yeah.
That gave him the opportunity to make Sheepdog, the military movie he'd been working on for so long. And that's really where we kind of got close, was talking about all this stuff and all. And he had been working this story loosely based off these three guys from 10th Mountain. And finally got it all put together. I got to see the script years ago, and we went through it. And I remember, they're making the movie, and there were no battle scenes in it whatsoever. Hell, there's nobody in uniform, I don't think. Because it's about a dude after. Because that's when the war starts for a lot of dudes. So he worked for 13 years to put this thing together, man. And I got to go to Boston to the premiere. I went to Texas. It's about to be in the Beverly Hills Film Festival, and then in San Diego. I'll be going there, and then it's going to actually premiere. But basically, he wrote a film about three guys that went in the military. One gets killed while they're in combat, and this is true. Offs himself back home, and then it's about the other one figured the fuck out.
Wow.
And when he originally showed me the script, what I loved about it was it wasn't veterans are broken. It was he's all fucked up. You see him all fucked up. You see him have to realize that he has to face it. And then you see those that he loved, that he fucked over like we all do and treated him like shit
Mm-hmm.
were there when he needed them. And the greatest thing he does with that movie is he speaks our fucking language, man. Like when I remember when he sent me the trailer, his character, I saw you, I saw me, I saw every kid I've ever known that just went through shit,
Mm-hmm.
especially the ones that go back home,
Yeah.
because that's when shit really gets hard. Like he was working at a factory, it gets closed down. There's a small town in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to see it, but it's coming out soon. But
That's exciting. I'm really
the
excited
greatest
to
thing
see
about
that,
it, man, is he's using it. Well, he took the movie we did and started Team House Studios.
Okay.
So every project he does, the idea is hire as many veterans as he can.
Wow.
I think on Sheepdog, he said he was able to hire. I don't know, it was more than we had on Cincinnati. Because what we try to do is get local guys, whatever. But wrote another script a couple years back. Wrote a big character in there for me as a lead bank robber, and now that one's actually going to get made, and they're actually going to have a budget. So I'm kind of excited to see how the real movie process goes.
Wow.
But he's like, dude, I can't wait to see you just pull a freaking. And I was like, he's like all excited. So, but yeah,
awesome.
that'll be happening. So I'm kind of excited about that. So I've been trying to get myself back, like not like jacked. I mean, I'm 250 pounds now, but like more functional and flexible, dude. Because I am so not flexible. Like I was even talking to my doc the other day. Like she asked me last time I went running. I was like, when did I retire from the army? It's like I still lift weights all the time.
Yeah.
But I got to get back to all that shit. But yeah, man.
Well, that's exciting, man.
He's doing really cool stuff, man. And when Sheepdog is ready to premiere and all that stuff, I'll share everything.
Yeah.
But
we'll blow that up, man. That's cool. I'm excited about it.
yeah, he did I'm telling you, man, he did an amazing job with it. Vanessa, I'm sorry, Virginia Madsen plays the therapist. I don't know if you know who she is, but if you see her, you'll know she's a big actress. She's been in like everything.
Okay.
He's got like some legit actors in it.
Yeah.
But it came out really good, man. The coolest thing for me is I got to bring a couple guys that served under me.
Yeah.
That really have lived that kind of same thing, lost their wife, all the shit. And it was all because of them.
Yeah.
And they're watching it, like my buddy Bobby's like, he's like, holy fuck, dude, that was me. He's like, look at me now. I was like, exactly, man. I was like, so look at this movie. He shows people the struggle that these kids face, but he also shows these kids that at the end of the day, just like we did in combat, you can beat that shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what the movie is about. It's about showing the struggle that combat veterans face when they come home, because nobody knows who they are anymore. Nobody knows what they've been through.
Yeah.
And then how do they reintegrate, transition back into society? And do you do a movie where all veterans are broke? Like, what was that one? Thank you for my service or whatever.
Yeah.
For your service, where veterans fucking suck or whatever. Or it's how about at the end of this movie, as a veteran, you walk out and you're like, yeah, I can get through that shit too. That's what I love about it, man.
Heck yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, it'll jerk a tear.
That 100% aligns with what we're doing, and by the time this podcast is out, people will know we're building an app for veterans to connect with each other and help each other out. And it's so cool to talk to you. What Team House is doing. We gotta stay connected, and this is gonna be an awesome movie, man. I love it.
Yeah, and if you're interested on getting Steven on sometime, man, just let me know.
Yeah,
because I can get him for you
for sure.
He loves anytime he gets to talk to. He's not a veteran, but he's.
Oh, it sounds like he did some awesome stuff, man.
The way he.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the kid. Like he loves dudes like us. That's why I love him. You know.
Yeah. Maybe we'll bring you on together.
Yeah, he's my little bro, man. But
All right.
yeah,
Well,
it came out really good.
dude, Mac, thanks for coming on. What a story.
Yeah, sorry, man. I know I got here, there, and yonder. There's so much, it's almost 25 years of shit.
Yeah,
So
dude. We'll
we
be
didn't even talk about all the
dude, so much more.
heavy metal shit and all. Like,
Yeah.
we'll get into that next time. But
Yeah.
I do have. So like I said, I'm starting Max Man Cave chats back up. My boys, they're working a community nonprofit, basically doing what we had already been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them, I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'll show up and help you guys, whatever, but I'm not doing it because I want them to own it.
Yeah.
Like, because if you think it's working, then push it out there, man. Get dudes back involved. Get them back together.
Yeah.
Like, it don't matter. Like, I told people, like, we did Operation Resiliency, we stayed at this nice hotel, right? I'm like, fuck, dude. Give me fucking 5 acres, some firewood, and some chow, man. We'd have a fucking blast. And some booze, obviously.
Yeah.
But all you need is to be back engaged, man, because
yeah,
that's what I did with my patrol base chats. As guys got to see in there that, okay, we're all going through the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, strip out, man. I was top of the food chain. And I'm just as fucked up as you are, if not more.
Probably more.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the longer you're in, man.
Yeah, man. But I really appreciate this, dude. I actually need it. I haven't talked like this in a while.
Good.
It's been a few months. So.
Well, yeah, dude. We'll keep it rolling, man. Thanks for being part of the team, and we'll talk again.
Yeah, brother.
All right.
All right. Take care, man.
Take care.
Incoming.